Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to be examining one of the most fundamental chapters of the Qur'an, Surah Al-Kahf, and even more specifically, the narration of Dhul Qarnayn. This video will be an examination and an essay about this mysterious servant of Allah. In this video, our primary focus will be analyzing the character of Dhul Qarnayn, as Allah has introduced him in the Qur'an. Allah says in Surah 18, verse 84,
إنا مكنا له في الأرض وآتيناه من كل شيء سببا.
This is already a verse with significant meaning. In fact, the more one ponders about this verse, the more one realizes the great honor and might which Allah has bestowed upon this slave of His. It's an honor which, despite repeated readings of the Qur'an, the reader won't be able to find given to any other creation of Allah's. So what does it mean to be given to every single thing away? Well, to answer this particular question, we need to first understand what the word Dhul Qarnayn even means. Dhul Qarnayn. In Arabic, the name is not a random label. It is a description. Dhu means the possessor, the one endowed with. And Qarn carries two famous meanings. The first is Qarn as a horn. So Dhul Qarnayn becomes the possessor of two horns, a figure marked by two horns, two peaks, two projections of power, two outward signs of authority. But Qarn also means something else, something deeper. It can mean an age, an era, a generation, a century, a span of time. And when you hear Dhul Qarnayn through that lens, it becomes the possessor of two ages, the one who reaches two horizons of time. And that meaning resonates more, because this story is not just about a ruler who conquered land. It is about a man Allah gave away to everything, a means to travel to the edges, the farthest west where the sun sets for the last time ever, the farthest east where it rises upon an uncovered people, for the first time and on the first day the sun ever rose. These are not ordinary destinations. They are thresholds, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. Allah introduces Dhul Qarnayn with a line that sounds simple, but it's actually heavy. We established him in the earth, and we gave him to everything away. Most people hear away and they immediately think of roads, like he was a master traveler, like he knew how to get to far places, Morocco, Japan, the ends of the map. But that's not what the verse is saying. The key words are to everything, not to many things, not to most things, to every single thing. And in the Qur'an, everything isn't limited to geography. It includes creation in all its layers, what you see and what you don't see. So, a way here isn't just a route on land, it's a means of access, a method Allah grants, like a door that opens because Allah allows it to open. And the Qur'an reinforces this immediately by repeating the same idea over and over. So he followed a means. Then again. Then he followed a means. Then again. Then he followed a means. This is telling you Dhul Qarnayn isn't just traveling. He's moving with a special sabil, a granted pathway, one that takes him to places ordinary travel doesn't reach. Not because the places are imaginary, but because the usual roads simply don't go there. Look at where those means take him. Not to famous cities we can name, Allah takes him to the setting place of the sun, where he finds it setting in a spring of dark mud, and he finds people there. Then to the rising place of the sun, where it rises upon a people with no covering from it. Then to the region between two barriers, where the matter of Ya'juj and Ma'juj is real and urgent, and the barrier is constructed. That already tells you the scale. This isn't world travel. This is boundary travel, the edges of how the world is normally experienced. So when Allah says to everything away, it's not crazy to understand it as something even bigger, that Dhul Qarnayn was given access, by Allah's permission, to realities that sit at the borders between realms. That includes things like barzakh, a real boundary between states, and it includes the realities tied to Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day when the structure of the world changes completely. The Qur'an speaks of these as real, not symbolic. Normally, people can't go there by effort or technology, not because they are fairy tales, but because they aren't reached by ordinary methods. So Dhul Qarnayn's honor is this: Allah didn't just give him strength, Allah gave him a means, and that means was broad, to everything. And that places him in an especially unique, favored position on earth. Not in the sense that no one else could ever be guided to such a path, because Allah can guide whom He wills, but in the sense that the Qur'an is showing you a man who was granted a kind of access and traversal that stands out from every other ruler mentioned. In short, this isn't a verse about knowing roads. It's a verse about being granted ways through creation itself. Now, there's a reason people argue about who Dhul Qarnayn was. The Qur'an tells us the account, but it doesn't give us his personal name. Over the centuries, two big identifications became popular. Some say it was Alexander the Great. A lot of scholars, especially in Western academic study and also in parts of older Muslim commentary, linked Dhul Qarnayn to Alexander because there are famous late antique stories about Alexander traveling to the ends of the earth and building a great barrier against Ya'juj and Ma'juj. These stories circulated in forms often grouped under what's called the Alexander Romance tradition, including Syriac materials about Alexander's exploits. Modern academic work has argued that the Qur'anic passage, 1883 to 102, closely tracks a specific Syriac Alexander romance circulating in late antiquity. Kevin Van Blavel, for example, frames the Qur'anic story as a retelling in conversation with that Syriac tradition. Others said it was Cyrus the Great. A number of modern Muslim writers preferred Cyrus because one meaning of Dhul Qarnayn suggests possessor of two horns, and Cyrus is sometimes connected, in these arguments, to symbolism of horns and to being a just ruler. This identification became more popular in modern times, with advocates including figures like Sayyid Ahmad Khan and Abul Kalam Azad, often mentioned in summaries of the view. Now, here's the key point from a Qur'anic Muslim standpoint. The Qur'an itself describes Dhul Qarnayn as a servant who acts with justice, faith, and conscious accountability to his Lord. And that brings us to something even more important. The Qur'an did not name him. Allah chose to present him by a title, Dhul Qarnayn, and then give you the parts of the narrative that matter for guidance. The means, the journeys, the justice, the barrier, the lesson about Allah's promise. So it may actually be wiser to hold this with humility. Take what Allah gave you, and don't force what Allah did not specify. The Qur'an itself teaches, O believers, do not ask about matters which, if made clear to you, would trouble you. Meaning, some questions can distract from what benefits you. So yes, scholars have argued Alexander, others have argued Cyrus, and others suspend judgment. But what Allah wants is for us to focus on the guidance and the reality of what Allah affirmed, and leave identity details that Allah chose not to pin down, especially when they don't increase you in knowledge or benefits. In the next episode, we will discuss these fascinating ayahs and landmarks, and more specifically, how to reach them. If you like this episode, please like the video, share it with your close ones, and subscribe. Thank you.